All right, is that better? So we have a minute till we start, but I just wanted to ask you, this conversation is about community. So in the spirit of community, if you haven't done so already, can you just take a minute and turn to the people next to you or behind you, introduce yourselves, and tell that person what what you're obsessed about today? What's your obsession? Just share for a minute with each other. We're just introducing ourselves to each other. So if you want to. All right. Thanks, guys. Once you start. So if we spent the next 30 minutes talking to each other and going around the room and learning about each other, I think we would feel like it's a much stronger community at this conference. And so I hope that this room feels more intimate to you now, that you've gotten to know the people around you just a little bit. And in some small sense, that's what we're trying to accomplish at NYU with Torch Tech. I want to start by asking you two questions. How many of you here belong to any professional IT membership organization? Just a show of hands, i.e. EDUCAUSE, okay? And how many of you at your local campuses have a professional IT membership organization? One? What school are you with? Oh, that's great. Okay, fantastic. So that to me is a striking response, that we're all part of this national or regional membership organization, but our local schools, colleges, and universities, we have no formal way of coming together and networking and getting to know each other and building a support system for the work that we do and for ourselves. And that's what Torch Tech is about. And I'll get into Torch Tech a lot more over the next 30 minutes. But I want to start by introducing myself so you know who I am, because since you've met, and I'm the oddball out. My name's Evan. I'm the IT director at NYU Silver School of Social Work, which is one of 17 schools, institutes, and colleges at NYU. Some of my colleagues who are part of Torch Tech directly or indirectly are in this room as well. And social work is one of the smallest schools in the university, both in terms of size and especially in the IT universe. We probably have one of the smallest IT organizations. And that's an important point that I'm going to come back to in a minute or two. Today, I want to give you a sense of NYU, because it's an important context in which Torch Tech exists. I'll take you through our story and how we came to be, why we came to be, what we do. I'll talk to you about some of the challenges and opportunities in the sense of lessons learned. And then I hope I leave time for Q&A. I have a tendency to talk too much, and I'll try not to do that today. So anyone, feel free to jump in at any time with questions or tell me to stop talking, because I want this to be a valuable discussion, and that may not happen if I'm too verbose. So how many of you heard the story about the whaling ship that got stranded off the Boston sort of coastline recently, right? 150 people went out on a whaling excursion, and I'm presuming most tourists, and the ship got caught. The rudder got caught in some sort of commercial cable line, I guess, that they were laying, and the passengers were stranded in the ocean overnight. 150 people were stranded overnight until the Coast Guard could come out and save them and cut the lines free. And put yourself in that position for a minute and think what it feels like to be on your own in the middle of this vast ocean. There's no land around, it's dark, and you're terrified, and you don't have the tools and resources to cut the line and get out yourself. That's pretty scary. And I think that we would all agree that sometimes higher education feels that way too. We work in these siloed organizations where we're trying to accomplish great things, but we don't necessarily have the tools and resources individually or as organizations to problem solve. Now, if we had given these people the tools and resources and skills they needed to free themselves from this boat, they probably would have done it a lot sooner than waiting for the Coast Guard to come in, you know, right? And I'm the little school at NYU who's saying, hey, where are you? We need your help. And that's sort of, you know, the ethos of this community, is that we can give people what they need to be successful. And NYU is this huge globally networked university. It's got 3 Portal campuses. It's got 25 study abroad sites. You know, it is the kind of place where students are expected, when they come to NYU, to spend some time at one of these locations during their academic career. And this is a recent foray for NYU, but I think it's the world's first globally networked university. And so it is this huge ocean of schools and campuses and departments and administrative units. And it's really, really big. And technology plays an important part in connecting all of that. But technology also has this adverse effect sometimes where it actually makes us more distant. I mean, how many times have you been in a virtual meeting where you just didn't feel like you connected to the people who were there, and you couldn't build the relationship that was necessary for you to carry that work forward because of the time and space between you? And so Torch Tech provides a place for people to come together physically where they can maintain the human connection. And so this is all about people, and it's all about connectivity. And when I say that, I really mean it. Even though I'm standing up here representing this organization, there was no aha moment where this came about. It was, and I'll tell you how it came about momentarily. This is a group of people who have been dedicated to building this. And so it really takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village, a community, to nurture and raise a community. And that's exactly what we've been seeing. So the folks in NYU, can you just sort of raise your hands, right? So all of these folks here have been involved in some way. And it's because of the community that we exist. So, hi Lisa, sorry. So I started NYU about 3 years ago. And one of the first things I realized is that there are a lot of really smart and really talented and really resourceful people at NYU. But those people were working on the same projects and they had no idea. They were looking for the same things and they had no idea. So here we are, we're all really great, but we're working on projects independently and we don't even know what the person next to us, let alone the school next to us, is doing. And so I went out and I did some research and I looked at other universities and evaluated what kind of communities they had. And I saw schools with leadership communities. I saw schools that had sort of co-ops that were bringing people together to talk about issues, but they were all these narrowly focused markets, right? They were geared towards a specific set of people at a certain level, and you know, in one aspect of the IT organization, and in some cases across the campus, but it was at the leadership level, for example. And so, you know, at NYU, we brought together all of the IT leaders from across the schools and from the central IT leadership. We presented this research and we said, what would a community look like at NYU like this, and what would we do? And that started a really invigorating conversation. We whittled it down to a smaller group of people and we just continued having that conversation, and Torch Tech was born. Whoops. And Torch Tech was born. And this picture is from one of our annual flagship events, and I don't know, do you remember what you were talking about? Probably not. No. So, but it was engaging, clearly, right? And yeah, And so we're guided by three principles. We fostering collaboration, relationship building, and sharing information. You know, we want to build strong networks of people so that there's support systems in place. We want to create an environment where people can come together and work on shared projects towards shared goals. And we want to teach and learn from each other. And we do this with the underlying philosophy of, hey, let's be open-minded. And I think that's really a important sort of way to make this work, that anyone who's interested in being part of us, we want you to come on in and let's talk. If you have an idea, we want to hear it. If there's a better way to do this, let's do it. You know, it's sitting down and asking the hard questions and being open to people's answers and being willing to accept a different way of doing things. And so we don't have a formula, there's no right way and there's wrong way. It really is the input from everyone who's involved. And I think we're fairly well positioned in the university. This took a little bit of time to get to, but the community is all around us. But it needs to be somehow linked to aspects of NYU where there's some agency. And so we have a CIO council, which is a group of IT school leads and leads from the central IT organizations, the AVPs, who come together on a routine basis to talk about a myriad of issues for the schools. And they sponsor the Torch Tech Steering Committee. The Torch Tech Steering Committee is a group of people who are from across the university at different levels of the hierarchy, at different organizations and administrative units. And those people oversee the Torch Tech community activities. And that means that the people in the steering committee sometimes run events, they sometimes work on projects, they sometimes find people to work on projects and to work on events. But they're involved in some of the direction of Torch Tech because we need oversight in order to make sure we're aligned with our principles and we're aligned with NYU. And then in some informal, organic way, this all informs the CIO Council, it informs the general IT at NYU. That's what we call sort of the IT infrastructure at NYU, where a lot of decision making happens. So it's going all over the place. And really, if we come back to that idea of the lone ship in the ocean, now there's a whole bunch of boats around us. And we're communicating to each other, and we're talking about the rescue, and we're sharing our tools, and we're sharing our resources. And maybe some of us are talking to each other, and that's getting back to the boat that's talking to the home base, and the home base is processing it. So there's more dialogue and communication going on. A primary aspect of what we do is we plan activities for the community in addition to initiatives and projects. And this is since we started in January of 2013, these are some of our events and activities. We try to have 3 flagship events per year, and in between we try to have 2 to 3 small networking-focused events that are centered around a specific topic, and we call those networking breakfast or lecture series. And so the 2 that are prominent here, the Share Fair and the Unmeeting, one is a project, is an opportunity for people to present posters on projects, and the other I'll explain because it's a little unconventional, but very fun. So the Unmeeting is, has anyone here ever been to an unconference? No, oh boy, yes? Right, so an unconference is really neat. The idea is that there's no agenda. You show up at the conference, and as an attendee, you create the agenda, and you lead discussions around the agenda items that you've proposed. And so while it's facilitated, the attendees are in charge of the day. You own it, you talk about it, you share and report out. The Unmeeting was adopted from an unconference at Stanford University in a similar form, and in our first Unmeeting where we kicked off Torch Tech, we had 120 attendees, we had 26 topics that we generated in 10 minutes. And this is our agenda topic wall, everything from cloud computing to enterprise systems to web development to classroom technology. And I remember the classroom technology discussion where the AVP of GTS, of a global technology group, the CIO of the central IT group, and all of these individual contributors were talking about classroom technology. And I don't know when else that happens at our university. And then we took all those conversations, captured the notes. Well, we didn't. The attendees captured the notes, and they're on our website, and you can go read them. And they're there for our community and for anyone else who's interested. And it went so well. We had a lot of skepticism, and one of the AVPs came up to me afterwards, and I have to say, he said, I didn't think this was going to work, but congratulations, good job. I said, thanks for doubting me, and let's have a drink. And we continued. I think after the unmeeting, we went back, we evaluated all of the topics, we said, what are people really interested in? And that led us to our next event, which was a cloud computing panel discussion. That was, we had vendors come in and talk about the future of cloud computing in higher education. But another flagship event of ours is the Share Fair. Yes. Yes. Original thought for that first event, how much time? I would say it was probably a good 4 or 5 months. I mean, we did a lot of talking and thinking before we actually came to that event. And the question was, do we have an event or do we have an organization? And we said, we have an organization who's going to start with an event. And that was a critical moment for us because having an event versus having an organization was not a one-off thing. Having an organization means we can work towards sustaining this community. Good question, thank you. The Share Fair we have is a opportunity for people to present posters on projects that they work on across NYU, where we had 30 plus poster sessions and 160 people come through these doors to see these posters in 3 hours. And I'm telling you that because it was our most attended event. And I had someone come to me during the event and introduce themselves, and they were at NYU for a week. They were a project manager, and they said, thank you. I really enjoyed meeting people I'm going to be working with and learning about the projects I'm going to be involved in. And so we then took these projects and put them on our website in a directory where we now can display the projects that people are involved in, which is exciting because I don't know that that existed before we did this. And I'm happy about that. And that went really well too. So now we're batting 3 for 3 and we're thinking, all right, maybe we're doing something right. And we started to have a couple of networking breakfasts. The networking breakfasts are very specific. It's around a topic like user interface design or IT management. And in fact, this guy right here on the right, scratching his beard, Razi's from the Stern School of Business, and he used our Google group, and he sent an email out to everyone, and he said, hey guys, is anyone here interested in IT management? And not management of technology, but management of people. And he got 100 responses, and he started a community of practice. I said, hey, Razi, maybe you want to hijack one of our networking breakfasts. We gave it to him, and he ran it. He had a really nice turnout. Hot breakfast was served, of course, which helps. And they had an entire discussion about IT management. And, we handed it off to him. We did the same thing with our user design networking breakfast. We gave it to 2 user interface experts, and they had a table topic discussions. They had someone co-lead a session from our Abu Dhabi campus as well, which was really fun. I participated in that. And so we're starting to be able to hand this off to people in the community who can help us to run and organize activities. That went really well, and we found that we're actually breaking down these silos in some way. Weird that happened, but we're starting to see people are coming out from across NYU to talk to each other. And so we're creating a conversation, and that has its benefits. And when I tell you that we're having people come out from across the organization, I really mean that. I'm not just saying it. And this data is mined from all of our activities, and what we've seen is we thought would happen was that our central IT organization has the largest number of employees in IT at NYU, over 300 people. I have 2 people in my organization, okay? The largest school has 50 people, I think, at Stern. So they're really large compared to the schools. And what we found was, actually, no. Most of the people who are participating are distributed. And that just was really heartwarming, because that's what we hoped for and that's what happened. So we're getting people from across the organization horizontally, right? Then we looked at the title of the people who were participating, and we found what over 60% of our attendees actually are individual contributors. So while we have leadership engagement, which is important and it matters for getting this thing started, most of the people are at the individual contributor level. That means that they're not a manager by title. And that's really important, because the hypothesis here is maybe that promotes employee retention. It's hard to keep good people at a university when you work in a city where there's technology companies who pay 20, 30% more. And so maybe if people are invested in NYU and they're invested in each other and they like working there because of that, they'll stay and they'll consider it and they'll see opportunities through the networks they build. And with any good business, I think we would all agree it's great when people come back. And so we have 40-some% of our people attending 2 or more events, and we've started to see, this is really fun, and I'm not one of them, but we've started to see people coming to 6, 7, 8 events. And so now we're seeing how people are investing and who's investing. And that's meaningful for going out and reaching out to people and saying, hey, we see you really like this. Maybe we could figure out a way to collaborate, right? And so that's really great. The other thing that was fun is when we have people sign up for events, we ask them about their aspirational interest. And this is aspirational because we're not asking for skills, we're asking for interest. And ironically, it starts to look like people's interests are actually aligning with the priorities of the university. And that didn't dawn on me until I was preparing for this presentation, because up until now I just thought, oh, people like cloud computing. But then when you talk about the fact that our university is working with Amazon for AWS, that our university is building a global technology team to deal with technology-enhanced education, when we talk about mobile applications being really important in higher education, when we talk about keeping our systems secure, and then and so on and so on and so on, those are all aligning to what people are interested in. So people want to know about these things so that they can do better work for the university. That's my belief. I don't have evidence to prove it, but I'm willing to bet on it. So we're really actually having an impact here, and that's scary, because it started as a place to hang out and have drinks, but we're finding that this means something to people. We're reducing redundancy. We're creating a space for ideas and innovation. We're creating a way to have iterative conversations with each other. We're promoting employee retention. So we're bringing people together to converse, but it's providing so much more for them. And I'm just showing you some of the things people have said about us, but really the feedback is overwhelmingly positive. Now, I don't want to stand up here and tell you that it's all perfect, because it's not. And if I did, and this was easy, we probably wouldn't be talking about it. It's really, really challenging. It takes a ton of time and energy, and it's in a volunteer organization. This is not mandated, by the way, and I don't know if I made it clear, but this is completely grassroots. Everyone who's involved in this is involved because they believe in it. And it's not someone at the top of the organization saying, you need to make this happen. It's people at the bottom saying, we need this. And then people at the top saying, we hear you, we're providing you resources to make this happen. And that's really, but because it's not attached to people's day-to-day job, it's hard to get a level of commitment sometimes. And the folks who are here with us today from NYU are committed. So we're lucky. But there's people out there who we need to still sell on the idea that this actually is related to your job, that this does matter for the work that you do, because of the investment in the organization, in yourself, and the investment in the organization that you make results in better work, and so on and so on. So that's really challenging, and we're trying to find a way to keep Torch Tech sustainable. If the steering committee disappeared today, I often wonder, would someone pick the ball up and run with it? And so we're trying really hard to create an environment where this can move forward year after year as leadership changes, as people's interests change, we adopt but continue to exist. But it creates a really good opportunity for us to run up a bunch of steps in Philadelphia and scream, or cross the marathon line here in Boston, but it creates an opportunity for us to give back to the university, to give to each other. It creates an opportunity for us to invest in ourselves and our organizations. And so there's a real opportunity here for us to create a support system across NYU that elevates all of us and puts us in a better standing as professionals and as a university. And this really, I'm sharing this because I was sitting in a meeting with people planning our share fair, and I saw this guy, Matt, and I said, Matt, nice to meet you. Why are you here? I had said, why are you involved in Torch Tech? And this is what he said to me. And I was floored that he said this. And this really just made me think, we're really finding something here that people were looking for and believe in. And so Matt, and that's why I wanted to show that to you. But, I can stand here all day and tell you about the Torch Tech and how great I think it is, but I'm completely biased and it's not fair for me to do that. So I'm going to tell you a story, and then I want to actually show you a quick video of the community talking about Torch Tech. And the story is that when we started Torch Tech, and this represents how Torch Tech is all about community, we needed a website. So we went to the law school, and we went to the law school leadership, and we said, we need a website. Do you guys have a developer who can help us build it? They gave us someone named Jonathan, and Jonathan developed the website. Jonathan didn't know anything about developing a WordPress PHP website when he started. He figured it out. He built our website. He built this amazing event plugin that gave us the capacity to exist in some virtual way. And then, he did that, he supported it for a while, and I heard at some point, maybe during that process or after that process, Jonathan actually got promoted and is now a web developer at the law school. I can't correlate that 100%, but I have to think, and Lisa is shaking her head, Lisa is, that his experience in Torch Tech and doing that. So we're really a medium for people to, express their skills, their strengths, their interests, to learn, to teach. We're there for all that to happen. But let me have the community tell you that in this sort of brief video here, so that, I realized that there wasn't a lot of people coming together on common issues to collaborate, to network, to share information. Push came to shove, and we brought a group of people together to talk about forming a community like this.
I think almost anybody could benefit depending upon the type of event. Technology is a part of everybody's jobs.
A group like Torch Tech at NYU is important, particularly because of a place like NYU, which is so siloed, and there's so many different pockets of interesting work being done around the university. It really helps make the connections.
I think the best thing I like about Torch Tech is about the conversations that take place here and meeting the people.
NYU is so large, we have all these different IT groups, each doing its own thing. And I think having a community like Torch Tech allows people to get together and discuss what they're doing and some of the common challenges that people face.
It's an opportunity more than anything. It's not coercion or anything like that. It's an opportunity, and we're all willingly here, and it just shows our motivation to get to know our colleagues and get to know what they're doing.
And in terms of projects, it gives me an entire network of resources that I can tap into when I need help with a project. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I can reach out to my peers and colleagues and learn from them and work with them on a project that maybe they've already accomplished. And so that video was actually created by one of our community members. She brought her own camera in. She asked the questions. I just said, can you go to our event and can you just record a little bit of what people have to say about us? She asked the questions, she created the video, It was completely her thing. And I think that just represents us. So I don't have anything else to say, and I want to see if there's any questions and that I can answer for you guys. And no questions are fine too. Yeah, it's a good question. The question was, how do we do this in a global community? And to be honest with you, we're still figuring it out, but we do record some things for playback later. We do live stream some things for direct involvement, and we do sort of, like I said, a networking breakfast, a Skype type scenario where someone's actually participating remotely from a global campus. But it reflects the challenge at NYU, where they're still trying to figure out how to do that. And so, and then most of the times, we actually invite people from other campuses to come participate in events when they're in New York, so that it aligns with their travel schedule. My hope is we'll go abroad at some point, but that's wishful thinking, because budget's being considered and everything. There was
building community takes time to nurture, planning them, coordinate things, to keep things moving. Can you take us through some of the organizational structure of how you continue to keep things moving while ensuring everything from full time?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, first I have the complete support from the dean of my school and from my direct manager. They're 100% behind this. Second, I have support of the leadership of the central IT organization, and so that helps. We have monthly steering committee meetings, and so I personally just set aside time on a weekly basis, usually Fridays, because Fridays are quieter, to address Torch Tech stuff. But I've just incorporated it into my day-to-day, to be honest with you. It's not that distinctly separated. I just it's part of my calendar, it's part of my week-to-week, it's part of my life. And because I have support from my leadership and the university leadership, I'm blessed by that to make it part of my day-to-day. And so while I started doing it on the side a little bit, now it's kind of just it fits right in there. So
like an example would be like an event we're putting on.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's the members of the steering committee. So I might send out some communications. We might have members of the steering committee who help with different aspects like the website, writing the posters for the room. We've been given administrative support by the CETO's office for the logistics of the event, getting catering, we all go and look at the space together. I mean, it's very, very collaborative. We're all our hands are all dirty in doing the work. We have about 20 in total. Yeah. Right, great question. So we're for professionals at NYU with an interest in IT. That's officially what we say on the website. And we do have people who are involved who are not IT people. So, we hope to go out into the organization and get the individual who's sitting at a desk somewhere who supports a couple research machines, but his or her title is actually something else. That's one of our greatest challenges. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, so we're working on things to help aid that, but we have to be very careful about how much of this we are intentionally and openly bringing back to the leadership, because we don't want to dissuade the community from having open and honest discussions. And so for me, it's more of an organic process. And I think we're still, you know, a couple years away from the point where we're really harnessing the voice of the community very, very directly. Right now, the leadership are still involved, so they're hearing the discussions and they're hearing the feedback. And we're working on other things like a community of practice program, a membership directory, specific for IT folks with lots of additional information besides phone number and address to help aid that. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. And we are out of time. So thank you guys very much for coming.